The Joe Rogan Experience.
Yeah, so when I was into my career and just kind of getting, kind of trying to figure out like what's next for me, it was hard. It was just a hard place because I didn't really have anybody to talk to. I didn't really know what I was going to do next in my life, And then when I started fighting again, I still was in that place where I just wasn't, totally back to fighting, my mentality, because fighting is something mentally that it takes a certain mentality for, and for me, fighting was something that I did to exercise some demons a bit, but having some time away from the sport, it allowed me to figure out other ways to exercise those demons and, figure out some things around them, the things that made me mad, the things that were my fuel before. I kind of made peace with them. And in making peace with a lot of the things that I was using for my fuel, it just changed the way I fought and the way I seen fighting. So coming back to fight, I just wasn't that same fighter anymore. And then when I got to the point where I was like, man, I can't keep myself, like I was like, man, I'm not fighting the way I want to fight. And, what's the point? If I can't go and compete the way I want to, I'm only torturing myself. So then I decided to retire. But then when I retired, I still was in that space where I was like, man, there's still something missing. So then when I did the 5-MeO DMT, that kind of put things in perspective in a whole different way, and it just it changed me. It changed me a lot. It changed the way that, like I said, the way I think, the way I eat, everything about it, So it was so cathartic in so many sense of the word,
Do you think that something like that would be really beneficial for fighters that are in the twilight of their career?
I think it could be. I think every fighter gets to a point where you fight enough, then fighting you kind of get in a weird space about it. And I've seen fighters go through that period where they just kind of like figuring out like why am I still doing this? They've had great moments inside the cage, but then they have those down moments, and those down moments are the moments where it's harder to come back from. And I think those are the times where a psychedelic or something like that could put things in perspective and allow the fighter to see the why behind the reason they're doing it and maybe create a new why.
It's, like what happens to them if the fucking coronavirus hits and they get locked indoors for 6 months.
And you just become agoraphobic and lose your shit?
Well, we were talking about this the other day, that most of what this is all happened from the Reagan administration. During the Reagan administration, they changed the standards of what it means to be mentally ill, and they just released people from asylums because they didn't want to pay for it all. And, look, if LA is a city of 20 plus million people, which is as many people in LA as I think is in all of Australia. So think about that. Think about the amount of money, and that they can't make asylums here. Think about how many abandoned buildings there are. Think about how much money would it cost. There's currently somewhere in the neighborhood of 70,000 homeless people.
Yeah, they said there was some statistic that said there's more empty apartments in this town than homeless people.
The thing is, though, that those folks don't just need a place, because they'll fuck that place up and
rehabilitation.
Punch holes in the wall and shit in there and stuff.
Smear it.
Yeah, they're crazy.
Yeah.
What they need is help, and they need medication, and they need counseling, and they need. And some people, I'm not a mental health expert. Some of them you might not be able to do anything to. Some are so gone, you might not. And also they get so filled with despair.
Yeah.
I knew a bunch of guys that were homeless back from my pool hall days. There was a bunch of guys that would hang around the pool hall. They would even sleep on the floor. And, I knew guys that would try to sleep in people's couches. They'd sleep at the bus stops. And then they'd come to the pool hall and try to hustle up enough money to get some drugs. And they were stuck in this place where they could never get past where they were. They were just in a rut, and they could never get out of it. And it was just...
It's heartbreaking.
Despair.
Yeah.
There's so much despair.
Because you're just like, what happened? For instance, the other day, I'm walking down Santa Monica Boulevard over by Barney's Beanery, and I just hear a... And I look over, and this kid's like, had to be 22, 23 years old. And I was like, what happened? Where are your parents?
One
Where-
too many auditions. Blew a fuse.
Yeah, just snapped. If I hear no one more time, yeah, I know.
CIA dropped him, and he's just out there ranting and
CIA
raving.
dropped him. I'll show you, Hollywood Reporter.
You motherfuckers.
God.
There are people, though, that you meet in this town where you meet them early in their journey and they still have hope. Like, it's not worked out yet, but I'm going to make it. And then you run in comics.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I think it's so relatable in our field as well, because you know those people.
Right.
So, Radio Raheem, you just said your people have been fighting for 400 years. Okay, first of all, I'm in the midst of my question.
Right.
I don't do these things haphazardly. I
Yes.
word my questions very carefully.
Yes.
But in the ears of Black America, later in the story, you'll find out that your people, that part of the question, became incredibly important, and people were very sensitive about that.
Because you said your people
Because
instead
I
of
said
our people.
your people instead of our people.
Right.
But I'm fucking quoting the guy.
Right.
Okay? I'm not speaking for him. I'm
Yes.
quoting what he
Yes.
said. He said,
Yes.
my people have been fighting for 400 years. So if he had said our people, I would have said our people. But
Right.
I can't take possession of your quote. It's not me saying it.
Right.
It's you saying it.
Right.
Your people have been fighting for 400 years. What did you mean by that? So, he laser focus, turns to me. He's already at 10. Like, there's no ramp up at this
Right.
time. And he starts, shouting in my face, like, your people too. Like, you know what I'm talking about. He says, don't try to bait. You know what I'm talking about when I say these things. When I'm like, well, yeah, I do. Can you tell them what you're talking
You're
about?
trying to get him to expand.
I'm trying to get him to explain to the world what he said to me on numerous occasions in different interviews and off camera. I know exactly what he's talking about, and I know that this is the moment that he finally gets to talk about it
Right.
to people who have never been listening to him before.
Right.
But when he heard it was a trigger for him too. I'm so oblivious, and I even looking back, I'm like, man, how did you miss that? I swear to God, I didn't know what the fuck was the problem. He starts shouting your people, and I'm like, well. It took me him. He needed to keep saying it because I didn't know why he was saying that. Yeah, my people too. My people too. Oh, there's a moment I'm like, oh, oh no! I thought he was shouting at them.
Oh
He's
my
shouting
goodness.
at me. Our people have been fighting for 400 years. To this day. And so what I thought was happening was that, okay, this moment now has become about him attacking me because he thinks I'm attacking him. He thinks because I do know what he's talking about. He knows we've spoken about it numerous times. He thinks I'm pretending not to know, like some, air quotes, Uncle Tom or what, the numerous names I've been called on the internet since, as though I'm trying to pretend like, I don't, what 400 years? What does that mean? You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, fine.
The way China has behaved now, they call it socialism with Chinese characteristics. That's the official name of this long-drawn game to, institute market reforms, usher in riches for the middle class, lift a lot of people out of poverty, but in a very controlled way, in the way that's like, see, that's the thing about like Asian culture that people don't understand. It's that there's a fundamental difference between the China dream and the American dream, right? And Xi Jinping has outlined what he thinks is the China dream. It's basically a top-down way to it's a goal, it's a national goal, and basically what they're trying to say is that, okay, we're going to lift a lot of people out of poverty, but your generation has to make sacrifices. It's not about the individual. It's about building a strong China, and implicitly also about ensuring that the CCP stays in power, the Chinese Communist Party stays in power. But it's that you might have to give up, personal sacrifices for the sake of China, versus the American dream, is bottom up. It's about your right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's it. And if you do that, that's the American dream. And if you achieve a certain level of happiness, if you achieve, it's all like, it's bottom up. It's not centralized, and it's not something that the Chinese government is kind of trying to stuff down your throat. And China's willing to play the long game. So it is still a Leninist, Marxist government. Xi Jinping still believes in all of that. That's why it's still so totalitarian. But it's, they know that like the way to gain power in the world is to get rich. And they did it on on the back of trade with other countries through very unfair practices, actually, in many cases. So if you think about like how I think there are a lot of estimates of how much they've actually stolen from the United States in terms of intellectual property, corporate espionage. Now even like academia is being infected. So
How so?
They just arrested the head of the chemistry department at Harvard.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. But wasn't that didn't they think that guy was in connection with some weaponized? What's that?
The virus
article?
thing?
Yeah.
No.
Am I thinking of something else?
There was an article linking some Canadian researchers to the virus.
Right. That's what it
no,
was.
But this was different. The head of the chemistry department at Harvard was found to have lied about receiving money from the Chinese government. So there's this program called the 1,000 Talents program in China. Basically, they're offering a lot of money. The New York Times did a really good expose on this. They basically offer money to like academics because it kind of sucks to be one here in the sense of like you're not paid that well,
right.
But China's dangling like a lot more money and say, okay, if you do research here in China, there's going to be like less bureaucracy. So that's their way to lure these people in. Right?
So he was hiding the fact that he was getting income from them?
Correct.
How was he hiding it?
He didn't report it.
Oh.
And
But he put it in the bank anyway?
Right. And so at the end of the day, when there's a relationship there, China owns your research.
Right.
And if you're researching something sensitive, that's a big issue.